Good morning. Just want to say congratulations and welcome back. I haven't seen you since you guys have been hired on here at Cheshire High. It's good to see that you've come back, and now it's time to kind of open up those conversations where we talk about what our role is going to be here as a supervisor and principal here at our school. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is making sure that you guys have a good and clear understanding of who you are and what your role is going to be as a supervisor. Um, Not only do you supervise children and students, but one of the big responsibilities is supervising the teachers that teach, that educate our children. So let's go into a bit of get a little bit of insight of what some things that we have to look into. All right, so the first thing we're going to look into is some of the things that might cause certain teachers to be ineffective. All right, so first we have abstract thinking and problem solving in the classroom. So you could walk into a classroom and you probably see some things that just catch your eye to why a teacher might be ineffective. And, we want to make sure that we're able to um, give the proper feedback necessary to help our teachers improve. So, first thing you want to ask yourself while you're observing is, can the teacher think their way out of the problem? Okay, so some possible causes for a teacher's ineffectiveness is maybe there's a lack of experience in the job. They could be brand new. Lack of knowledge, where they're pretty much uncertain of how to handle or manage a situation. Difficulty solving problems. Could be difficulty with a student and not sure how to manage that student or manage the dysfunction that's going on in the classroom. There could be a lack of awareness where the teacher doesn't know what exactly is going on with them, with themselves, and why there's a problem in the classroom. Or there could be personal problems where the teacher is having a bad day outside of school, and it's causing them to not be focused in school. So there's several things that can cause a teacher to be ineffective. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are aware of that, because we don't want to blame teachers for the problems, but we want to make sure that we can have good, clear discussions to show them what we see as supervisors. Another thing that we want to look into is the level of commitment that a teacher is bringing to our school. You want your teachers to be passionate. You want them to be enthusiastic. You want them to be happy when doing their job. So we want to make sure that the level of commitment is there and is high. So some problems that could be there is a teacher can have a little bit of high level of self-centeredness, where um, it's hard to to get them to see past themselves. Most likely they blame other people or the students for the problems, and they don't look at themselves as the cause or the root to the problem in the classroom, right? There's an unwillingness to change. We have certain teachers who've probably been in the profession for years, and because they have practiced it a certain way for this amount of time, they might not be willing or open to change as easy as you may think it may be. So it's for us to be able to guide them and help them and see what ways can possibly work. Uh, Again, personal problems. Um, there are teachers who aren't as passionate as teacher A in a room who has high scores, and it's our job to get them to get to kind of motivate them and encourage them and try our best to coach them and help them in any which way we can. So there's certain things that we want to pay attention to. Those are just some of the causes when you're evaluating teachers or observing teachers and seeing that they are sort of ineffective in their classrooms. All right. So how do we move forward from these issues? The essential factors to establish a productive conference with a teacher. There's things that you want to do. When you're observing, you want to be able to diagnose what the problem is. You want to keep your eye on the ball. You don't want to misdiagnose them and in areas where they're not struggling. You want to make sure that you are hitting the areas which they are struggling in and help them to the best by pointing that out. That's the feedback that they're going to need. So it's going to be very important that you diagnose the problem efficiently. You want to be able to give them a prescription. Well, what might help? All right, what's going to help them get better or improve in what they're doing? All right, so these are things that are going to be discussed. All right, and you want to be able to have a timeline set in order to get or in order to see the improvement happen. All right. It's not about a short time. Sometimes it could be a short time. Sometimes it could be a long time. Sometimes it could be the whole year. But you want to make sure that you are setting a boundary for that teacher so they understand that we want to see the improvement and we want them to get better for our students. So there's always a goal in mind. All right, so we're going to take a look at the different groups or the different type of supervisor that you can be. And there are four different quadrants here. The quadrant one, we're looking at a directive supervision where pretty much the supervisor controls and diagnoses. The supervisor pretty much controls what is going to happen during the improvement stage. Basically, quadrant one is for your inexperienced teachers, maybe, who might be struggling to a point where they don't know how to figure out how to get out of the problem or the rut that they're in as a teacher. So, quadrant one, directive supervision, teacher, you as a supervisor might just have to diagnose, prescribe, and set the timeline for that teacher in order to help them. In quadrant two, you have a collaborative supervision style. The supervisor and the teacher share control, and there you will diagnose, prescribe, and set a timeline together. Um, you're not as strong as you are in the first quadrant. Pretty much you guys are putting it together, you're talking it out, there's more discussion, there's more room for discussion, and it's more open. It's not as direct as quadrant one is, of course. Quadrant one, you're pretty much in control. Quadrant two, you're sharing the control. In quadrant three, it's a collaborative supervision for diagnosis and prescription. So pretty much you are setting up, you're giving the diagnosis, you're observing the problem, you're calling the problem out, and you're also more prepared to give the prescription. And then you allow them to set the timeline. So pretty much you kind of see where they feel that they can improve on their own. So it's a little bit of the directive, not sorry, non-directive supervision style coming in a bit here. And then in quadrant four, you have the non-directive supervision, and that's where the teacher controls how they are going to improve for the benefit of the students. So they are able pretty much to diagnose the problem, to prescribe a resolution for the problem, and set their own timeline as well. Uh, Non-directive supervision is pretty much the supervisor is very much hands off, is there to guide and support, and the discussion is there. It's not that there's not a discussion. The discussion is there, but the teacher can lead the discussion. All right. And just to let you know, I myself fell into a non-directive supervisor, and I just want to let you know here, I just want to position teachers to figure out their own weaknesses and figure out how they could come up with their own resolutions. Um, and I'm just here to guide them through the process. I want to establish teacher-supervisor relationship that is to be constructive, open, and supportive. I want our teachers to know that we must have expectations and set boundaries when it comes to being a professional educator. Also, I want our team to understand that our priority here is to improve the learning conditions for our students always. So those are my feelings about being a non-directive supervisor, and I hope you understand that it might be the way that we move as a team, as principals and supervisors. Um, I see it being very beneficial for our teachers to be able to learn and figure out how to improve on their own. And remember, we are there to guide them. We are there to assist them. And there are times where you're going to have to be directive, and you're going to, have to collaborate. But let's think about how we can best help our teachers by letting them go through the process of figuring it out on their own. All right. And that's our time. Thank you very much. Good night.